Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the July 10th, 2017 Selectmen Board Meeting. Welcome to everybody in the audience as well to the people out there watching on TV, although it's a beautiful night, so I think it's probably limited tonight. So we're going to start, if everyone could stand for our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord God, we come humbly before you. We acknowledge your sovereignty over all things. We thank you for your presence. We also thank you for the blessings on our community. Father, as we consider the task of governance within our community, we ask you to guide our thoughts and hearts. And we ask that you would grant to each of us wisdom, discernment, and understanding. Father, each of us that prays to you, praise in the manner in which we were taught to pray. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so as my Surface still downloads, I'm just going to go through our agenda. So first, we did receive from our town clerk the resignation of Mark Anderson from the Board of Commissioners. We would like to thank Mark, for his time and his efforts on that board, and we wish him the best. In addition, I would like to hold on one second. Let me find it since mine. Where is it? Okay. So Richard Fred Mendez is an employee of the town, and we would like to recognize and give our sincere condolences to the passing of his son. All of us here, at the town, wish the family, again, our condolences, and hope that everything moving forward is okay. Moving on, we are also here to recognize some new business. So first and foremost, I'd like to start with the folks in the audience. Let's start with Mellow Disposal, if you guys can come up.
Brought you a blown up version so you didn't have to look at that little piece of paper. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Mello from G Mello Disposal. And I wanted to come in and just answer any questions or concerns on our proposed addition to the transfer station as we begin to take the steps to get all the necessary permitting and move forward with the construction of a new building. I don't know if you got the copies. I sent over an outline of the permitting and construction procedures, just so that not everything's scheduled, but it's in order of what we need to do and how we're going to hopefully accomplish what we need to accomplish to get to where we want to be.
Okay.
So
Why don't we start with this?
Yep.
I know you sent a bunch of information, okay? There's a lot, to go over. Why don't you give us a, kind of a synopsis of, for those who maybe weren't able to get through the whole information
Absolutely.
packet. Why don't you give us a little, background, what you're trying to accomplish? Doesn't have to be, a ton, but
Absolutely.
Give us a little background on it.
about a year ago, we went in front of Department of Environmental Protection to do some renovations to the building that needed to be done. And they informed us at that time that our permit to operate, they expire every 10 years now, and ours expires next April. And if we want to renew it, they ask that we rebuild the building. With today's regulations, I'm sure everyone knows this transfer station. It's a 3-wall lean-to. It's exposed to the elements. And with the new regulations, they want everything enclosed with doors that you can close at night, and the loading pit would be enclosed as well. So in order to move forward and comply with the regulations, we started the process of looking at building a new building, how we could do it, where we could do it on the property, and we've gone back to Department of Environmental Protection with our proposed plan. They seem happy with it, so that's the plan that we decided, that's the course we decided to go forward with. So here is our existing building.
Yep.
The 3-wall lean-to. Here's the loading pit. Here's our scale house where you enter. We're proposing putting the building in this northeast corner. It maximizes the space and traffic flow. We then propose to move, right here is where the residential drop-off area is. Recycling is right here and trash is right here. So we're proposing to move that over here on top of the capped landfill. And that would alleviate traffic and make it a much safer and more efficient operation. And I'm sure everyone's been down there on a weekend where it's very congested and tough to get in and out.
I stay away on the weekends.
I don't blame you.
Just this weekend.
Right,
Stuff.
right. So in order to do this, our first step was to file an application with MIPA, and I'm sure that's the big packet that you guys got a while back. We were issued the MIPA certificate 2 weeks ago. They had no concerns. We did a traffic study. Our proposal is to increase the daily tonnage limit that is down there, and that's what triggered the MIPA approval process. And they saw
The increase is quite substantial.
it is.
Yep.
So the way we came up with the increase is based on the size of the building. For that size building, that's how much, doing the calculations, that's how much tonnage that building could withstand. And that's what triggered the MIPA application and the traffic study. The traffic study supported the tonnage increase, and MIPA did not have a problem with it, so they issued the certificate. The way the process works, ultimately at the end of the day, which MIPA states in the certificate, is that Department of Environmental Protection has such strict guidelines that they basically looked at the traffic study, said that that was fine, and then they basically defer to environmental protection to enforce all the guidelines on the construction process and ultimately the authorization to operate before it opens back up.
Okay. Now, they did a traffic study.
Yes.
Was there any, I didn't see any, maybe I missed it. Was there any concern or any discussion around, because as you're gonna bring in more, say tonnage, we'll call it, therefore, you get more tractor trailers coming in.
Correct.
Things like that. Has anybody considered the weight of how much these things are gonna weigh coming on that road? Can this road, withstand such weight all the time?
It's a state highway, so yes.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Have they done that? Okay.
Absolutely. And though it is a substantial increase, it's not to say we'll ever actually get to 300 ton. We're looking to build the building and maximize the possible tonnage in the future. And in doing so, the tonnage increase is really from Monday through Friday. It's not going to affect the weekends. Weekends is primarily just residential drop-off. And doing the calculations, it's going to be bigger trucks coming in to drop off, so it's really only increasing was 52 trucks. No, I thought it was 26 per day. I'm looking at the wrong page. But it was 26 trucks per day or 52 trips.
Okay. What is the time frame that we're actually talking about with this project?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
It really just comes down to how long it takes to get all the approvals.
Okay.
So our original goal was to break ground in October. In that way, I could get the concrete poured before winter, and then we could do construction during the winter. But it's with delays and the permitting process, I don't think we'll break ground by October.
Okay. And once you do break ground, what is the time frame for completion?
Would love to say 3 months, but
3 months?
we won't be positive until we can do the test borings and know exactly what we're into.
Okay. And again, this is this whole project was geared towards bringing you guys up to compliance.
Yes,
Is that correct?
correct.
On the current site,
Yes,
am I correct in saying, so you aren't expanding, you know, side to side, everything's gonna be on the same site?
it is.
You breaking ground any further, you know, north, south, east, west?
No, so our site assigned land is this dark dotted line,
Yep,
and the site assignment, so all solid waste has to stay within that site assigned area.
okay,
We're proposing moving the residential drop-off for recycling on top of the capped area of the landfill, which is,
which right now is where you come in. Is
you
that
come
right?
in right here.
Yep.
There's the turnaround for the trucks to dump into the salt shed right here.
Yep,
So when you're coming in here, it would divert the residents to the right.
okay,
And it's an approved use to be able to build on top of a capped landfill. It's a minor modification to, where are we, for the post-closure use permit. And what we would do is actually not strip any land from there, would actually build it up more and level it, and then it would really, we're not building anything on top of it, we would just be paving basically a horseshoe for the people to come around and make a smooth traffic flow.
okay. All right,
If I may, Jason,
Yes.
you're expanding out of the 2-acre footprint
Correct,
that you currently have.
correct.
okay, so there is expansion over, okay. All right, questions of the board, Steve?
So on that point with the traffic flow, I know I was there this weekend and I was out on 133. I only needed to use the residential disposal, but the actual road that goes into the facility, it's one way in, one way out. It can only
Correct.
hold 2 cars.
Correct.
Right. So how will this improve that? You still have to wait in line, right? If you're gonna go on the scale.
So the hopes are, you basically have 4 lanes over here. It does bottleneck down to 2 lanes out going to the street. But here we have space for 4, so that you have an inbound and outbound accessing the building, and an inbound, outbound accessing the residential drop-off. So we have to work on exactly how that traffic flow is going to work, but that's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
Which
Of
will
the
alleviate it.
estimates that you guys did in terms of how many cars will come in and go out,
For the increase?
yeah, for the increase, will that support it?
Yes. So the increase is strictly Monday through Friday, because I know Saturdays and Sundays are too busy. I'm not looking to increase down there on the weekends. And it's with the minimal amount that's going to impact with the new traffic flow and having an inbound and outbound going towards the building, it will help immensely.
Okay. Okay. The other question I had, did you get a chance to look at the correspondence from Parker River Clean Water Association? That was on May 29th. They actually were not in agreement with some of the conclusions that were made by Lenfield Engineering in regards to the traffic study.
Okay.
I guess Lenfield Engineering stated that the project is not within a medium or high stress basin as established by the Mass Water Resource Commission.
Yeah.
And they're claiming that that's incorrect. I don't know if you guys, it's considered a high stressed area. Did you reach out to them, or do you have any?
I'm working closely with Linfield Engineering, so he would be working with them to rectify
Okay.
the situation.
Okay. Okay, and what is, in terms of storm water management today, so, how do you guys collect all this
So-
and keep it on the site?
Right now, there is a basin right here, and there's also one kind of down here. And the water, there's drainage that comes around the outside wall and diverts up down to each basin.
That's planned?
That's existing.
Oh, existing.
Existing. And if we have to make a modification, we don't think we will have to, but if it needs to be modified at all, then we'll look at that as well.
Okay,
We don't feel like it will.
okay. I mean, just looking at, from other departments, conservation and planning, I know that they had had submitted correspondence with inquiries and concerns as well, or I assume that you guys are working with them
Yes.
on
So
those to clear those up?
this is my first stop,
Okay,
and then I'm to Board of Health next week, and then on to Board of Appeals and Conservation. I've met with Conservation a few times about it.
okay,
I've met with Board of Appeals and Board of Health just, you know, for informational purposes, but we're working to address everybody's concerns.
okay. How far on top of the landfill are you guys planning to take?
So that's actually over exaggerated. It's gonna be set back, we're trying to stay within the 75-foot no disturbance rather than the 50, which is what Conservation was hoping that we could do. And by only paving a horseshoe, we can divert the water, the stormwater back to the existing drainage to go down to the basin. So it's really gonna be right around here. I don't know the exact acreage, I wanna say it's like a half an acre, 3/4 of an acre,
Okay.
tops.
All right. And I guess, yeah, my final question was, how would this impact the DPW,
It won't,
if at all?
it won't,
It won't at all?
no.
Have you talked to Peter Durkee?
I
If you
talk to
could-
Peter
Yeah,
all the time about it, and
Okay.
he hasn't voiced any concerns about it whatsoever.
okay. All right, great. Thanks, that's
Is
all
that-
I have, yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah,
Doug?
I do. Do you have any plans on widening that driveway?
Not at this time. There's wetlands on the north side of it and a property on the south side of it. But if,
I didn't know how far from the driveway edges the wetland was. I know there's a house next door.
right, I'm not positive what that setback would be, but it's something that we can investigate further.
There were a couple of things that I noted in the traffic study
Mm-hmm,
that I need to ask you.
okay.
One is, the traffic study cited that there were no sidewalks on East Main Street, and that's not true.
The sidewalk right across the street.
Yeah, and it goes up to a point, stops, and then the sidewalks into the center of town.
Mm-hmm,
So, and then another thing is, you just said that you're looking to use land beyond what you're currently contracted to do?
correct.
And have the abutters and the residents in that area been contacted?
They will be.
Do you have a
Absolutely.
timeline for that, or?
That's mandatory for Board of Appeals. We got the abutter list last week, I believe, or the week before. So before I think it's a 4-week window that we have to advertise, and abutters have to be notified at that time as well.
And where are you with the planning board right now?
Planning Board, we are working right now with the building inspector on the building permit to get the recommendations back from him so that we can finish filling out the application for Board of Appeals.
Okay.
So I've met with, is her name Patty, right?
I'm sorry.
Right. So I met with Patty and sat down and we went over everything that we were going to need to do with the building inspector and looked at all the special permits that it's going to require.
Now, there's another thing from the traffic study, which I was kind of surprised by. It said that the weekday traffic, which I'm assuming is Monday through Friday,
Mm-hmm.
that there's 20,800 vehicles a day,
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week,
Yes.
100,000 a week. Wow.
It's a busy road.
Yeah, it is. Also, the part that has me questioning is, because on the weekends, I've seen traffic on East Main Street backed up as
Mhm.
people are queued to get into the transfer station.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're gonna add the presence of larger vehicles.
But not on
Carry-
weekends.
Well, you know, did have a question, because, and if I could find a sheet, it had one, that there was certain things that would happen after the normal operating hours, from 7:30 to 7:30, I think it was. I just gotta find the sheet that says that. Which could take me a while now that I wanna find it. So in the meantime, while I'm looking for that, you expect 126 trips a day, 63 in and out.
Right, that's their summary page, correct? The table 7, conclusions and recommendations.
So are we looking, I'm sorry, what?
That's the number from their conclusions, correct? Right.
Well, I didn't know if that was what they told you. What do you expect? Oh, there it is, right on top. On page 2 of the packet, where it says hours of operation. It has a 1 as a footnote. And it says hours of operation are for receipt of material. Shipping, processing, and maintenance activity may be performed outside indicated hours of operation. It's on the table 1 summary of proposed operation.
Okay. Table 1.
You see where go down a few, it says hours of operation, it has a 1 for a footnote.
I don't think I'm on the same page as you. Okay. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, it was, page 2 in our packet, right? Maybe page 100 in yours.
Right.
Why don't you just send that to him?
Thanks. Sorry. Correct.
So what will take place after hours?
So, once we close at 3, we generally are still there, anywhere from 3 to 5 o'clock, cleaning up and whatnot, and might load a tractor trailer at that point for it to go out, and then just preventative maintenance on the equipment. We don't accept any material outside of those hours, though. We might ship some out, though.
After 7:30?
No, after 3.
What's the time on that one there? I don't have it in front of me, so I don't.
7:30 to 3 is the hours that we're open Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to noon on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All right.
And it doesn't state the actual hours after we're closed, but I believe our lease states 6 p.m. Nothing can go on after 6 p.m. I believe that's the.
Okay.
Yep.
So we wouldn't be seeing any traffic, the gates would be closed, locked?
Correct.
And there'd be no traffic queued up waiting to get in? Or
Correct.
anything leaving after 6 o'clock?
Correct. Absolutely.
Unless it was an employee.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw it, that's right. Okay. So where do you anticipate, because I can see more and more 18-wheelers coming down West Main Street, as well as coming up East Main Street. And I was watching a planning board meeting where you stated that you thought the majority of the traffic would come off of 95.
All of my tractor trailers will come off of 95 and exit back towards 95.
So there would be nothing ever coming down West Main Street to go?
I
into
can't
the-
say never, but that's the way we operate now. Is our trailers use 95, and the increase in tonnage most likely will predominantly come from 95 as well, and then it actually eliminates them from going through the center of town. Because Georgetown gets accessed for both burn plants in Haverhill, North Andover, and there's a processing plant in Salem, New Hampshire that a lot of vehicles are coming through town to utilize. So hopefully this will alleviate some of that.
Well, that was my concern, was the one from Haverhill coming down.
No. So that's a
You don't
burn
expect
plant,
much
so
of
they
that.
wouldn't bring anything to us, and so it shouldn't impact that at all. I can never say never, but that's the plan.
True.
Right now, everything goes back towards 95 when it leaves us.
Right. So the report also stated that there's a possibility you could go to 350 tons a day. It said 300, 350. Same page. Maximum daily tonnage, so it'd be built out to maximum daily tonnage of 350 tons per day.
So typically what environmental protection does is whatever they cap your limit at, they have a buffer in case you go over a little bit. It's a never to exceed, but your daily limit averaged out over the year is X amount. And then that way, so that you have a few people in line, you hit that limit, you don't just shut the gate and say, sorry, see you later.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure,
Mhm.
you know, I thought it was, you know, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, now, I guess I always thought that the actual dump area was not only capped, but it was sealed.
Correct.
Well, is there any chance any of this would bust through a seal, or?
No, because we're going to actually build up upon the existing landfill to make it even thicker. And they have done studies where the material that they use to cap the landfills is strong enough to be able to put an operation on top of.
Okay.
And when we met with DEP, that was one of our questions, and they said that you're not the first person that's wanted to do this. It's
Oh,
not a
so they
problem.
didn't say you had to do any mitigation to prevent the possibility of
If we're
seal being breached?
the way that I'm not an expert on
Yeah.
capping landfills at all, but it's pretty deep and there's clay on top, and then we're going to build that up even higher. So,
Okay.
and then we're going to pave on top of that. So there shouldn't be anything that is going to be able to
Okay.
get jammed down into the ground.
All right, great. Well, that's all I have for now, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Derek?
Yeah, I've read through most of it. The letter from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts they've covered a lot of what you've got in here. I mean, they've covered all the letters, the letter that Steve mentioned from Parker River. You know, and I got faith in the rest of our boards in town that they'll go through this with you, and you're gonna be spending a lot of time there. I did question now, why the Board of Appeals? Is that because you only have the license for 50 tons, so you have to get the town approval for that, or?
No, that's actually through Board of Health. So the Board of Appeals, we have a few different special permits that we're gonna be looking for. One is
Okay. you've
having
got
more
it
than
down
one
here.
building on a lot,
Okay.
and
yeah.
then the floodplain, where technically right at the level of Georgetown's level, but when the Army Corps of Engineers redid it back in 2012, we're actually 6 feet above it, and then we're actually building that up. So
Okay.
it's just basic special permits that they didn't think that any of the permits were going to be an issue.
Yeah. I mean, the state, in the letter, they seem rather positive that you're expanding, because, you know, they had mentioned the Massachusetts Solid Waste Master Plan, that this will be helping out the whole state with this, so. I don't think I really have anything. I've read it over, and, like I say, I wanna have faith in the rest of our boards in town that you're gonna be in front, that they're gonna do their best with you, and you'll, going forward, you'll have a newer and a better facility.
That is the goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Selectman Johnson has another question.
I forgot there was one.
No problem.
I had noticed in the traffic study
Mm-hmm.
that it stated the 5-year crash statistics ending with 2014, which I'm assuming is the state, is the last time they have a 5-year chunk of time to
Okay.
use for data. Said there was one accident on East Main Street in that 5-year time. I wanted to know what's happened since, well, from 2014 to present. So I talked to Chief Cudmore,
Okay.
and he sent a report today. And he did it from 2012 to 2017 with statistics that he has.
Mm-hmm.
And they consider, the police that is, consider an accident would be like if it was $1,000 damage or more.
Okay.
To which he has a total of 139 over
Okay.
that 5-year period, which is a marked difference from the one from, let's say, 2010 to 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I just don't know, I'm just wondering, with the way people are going crazy driving these days, is just the increase in traffic. When during the weekday do you expect most of the traffic?
That we're
Truck.
going to increase?
Yeah.
We're going
If
to,
you do 63 a day, are you just expecting it between,
it'll be
7
fairly,
and 3.
fairly spread out throughout the day, but I do know the busiest time on that road is from 7:30 to 8:30 every morning, and then from, I believe it's 3 o'clock to 4:30. So the 3 o'clock to 4:30 we won't affect at all. The morning, we'll try and maneuver things to try to make the effect as minimal as possible.
and as far as you know, is there any, I'd have to ask Peter this, but is there any land at all that could be used for a queuing lane? The report said there isn't, but.
I would have to talk to Peter because he utilizes this space. Do you mean out on the road?
I think
Yeah,
that's
Or
queuing
down
lane on
inside.
the road, cause you just don't wanna be,
Right.
But you're not gonna accept trucks on the weekends, right?
Correct. Correct. So the weekend will pretty much stay status quo. It's always busy, but
Yeah.
it's all homeowners.
Well, my biggest concern is the impact on the roads with the more use of it, and queuing, you know, with backing up like that.
By having the residential drop off over to the right, even on weekends, it should expedite everything because a bottleneck's just trying to get in to access the residential drop off right now, and you have the people coming in with the cleanouts that have to utilize the building and the scale.
Okay,
So we're hoping that
great,
helps immensely.
great. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank
Appreciate you
Just,
meeting with me.
will you have to have like two receiving places then, where you're gonna have the residential one kinda separate?
No, because the residential is going to be in enclosed containers, and then when it's the same thing that we do now. Once those fill up, we just pick them up and we
No,
put them, bring them into the building.
What I mean is the guy I give my $3 to.
Excuse me?
The guy I give my $3 to, I mean, you've got like one building and he does
Right.
a scale in that, where you have
We'll
to
put
have.
another person on the other side.
So you're gonna have two,
Yes.
an additional person there, one just for residential and one for
Absolutely.
the commercial, okay,
Yes.
that was the
Yep.
question, sort of, okay.
Selectman Sally.
I just have two additional questions. So in the traffic study report, the engineers indicated that that road was town-owned and controlled. That's not correct, right? Is it state? Are we-
It's a state route, but the town maintains it themselves.
So we're talking about, you know, about impact
We
to the road.
pave it, we plow
Right.
it. Yeah, we
So
maintain.
that's, I think, a consideration, right, that increase in traffic, increase in delivery, that's going,
Yeah, wait.
yeah, the weight, that's going to
gonna-
negatively
it's gonna-
impact the, well, at least for the town, right, it's gonna increase the cost for the town, the townspeople to maintain the road, I just wanted to throw that out there. And the other question I have is, it looks like we got an, email from Tilly regarding the landfill that's there. Did we ever get resolution of whether the landfill is lined or not? She seems to think it's not, but we were told it was.
From all indications that I'm aware of, it's a lined landfill. Well, the
It's
cap
capped,
is.
it's not lined,
The bottom is not lined,
right,
the cap is lined.
okay. 'Cause, yeah, I think that there was an opportunity at one point, I don't know if there still is, but, I think one of the, cellular providers was looking to put some structure on there, but they couldn't because they thought it was lined, and I guess it would've crushed the lining.
I didn't see
So-
Tilly's email.
Yeah,
but,
so we might wanna look
yeah,
into that,
I
yeah.
mean, the cellular tower would have to drive pilings down to, they're just.
We're not looking to break the
going
surface
over
at all.
top.
No, okay,
And that's another permit from environmental protection
Okay.
that they'll do the due diligence to make sure that it's done correctly.
okay. Yeah, that's all I have. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Mr. Mello, what, you said you had a discussion with, abutters coming up, you know, relatively soon. What is your expectation in terms of the impact for, you know, those residents? I mean, you're increasing, you know, your facility quite a bit. So how do you figure these residents are gonna be affected, you know, in terms of, I don't know, scent, you know, noise, you know?
It's going to be a much cleaner operation than it is now. No blowing debris, everything's going to be enclosed inside, and all around it's going to be a more efficient and cleaner operation. So I think that they will be pleasantly surprised.
Okay, so I kinda wanted to have you say that, because I'm sure some people are wondering. Okay, so, Mike, first of all, any other questions from the board?
Be some in the audience, I'm not sure.
What's that?
Might be some from the audience, I don't know.
Any other questions? No? Mike, are you expecting a vote tonight for this, or
No, Jason, this was just,
this is just a conversation? Okay, I didn't know if this was something
just to
that,
bring the board up to speed.
Okay,
He's been to almost every board, or at least, all the staff in town.
okay, I didn't know if we were
He's
gonna
been
vote
very communicative, for
Yeah, I mean, this is a ton of information, we certainly appreciate it. I know I have some questions for other boards, all right, so I will actually reach out, you know, to them. There are a couple of things in the information packet that, I just need to expand on, not, you know, more concern, just more of an expansion of, some of the concerns that I see
Absolutely.
from some of these boards. But other than that,
The
yeah,
only
I think
thing
we're
that
good for
would
now.
actually affect the board is, and we will probably need to update the lease, because he's gonna be expanding his footprint.
Right. And that was what, that was for last year?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So, anybody have anything else? Anybody in the audience? That's it.
Other than, there won't be any noticeable, noise to irritate the, residents?
No.
I mean, to me, I think that's a huge piece. You know, I wouldn't want anybody being negatively affected by this, so. Okay.
No, I think just the simple fact that everything will be fully enclosed, everyone's going to be very happy about it.
And this is also, you know, a state compliance issue, so this is
Mhm.
something that, I'm sure the state will be overseeing and everything else, so. And as
Absolutely.
Gary said, you know, we have faith in our boards,
Mhm.
that, you know, they'll see this through as well, so.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
I certainly thank you for coming.
Yes,
Thank
thank you
you
so
for
much for
having
your
me.
time, thanks for all the information, we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
All right. All right. Before we move on, ma'am, do you have business here tonight? Which part? So
I'm from the Historical Commission.
why don't you
Oh,
come
yeah,
on up
okay.
here?
I'd love to.
Welcome.
Thank you.
If you could give us your name.
I'm Gloria Swanbon, and I'm here representing the Historical Commission
Okay.
to talk
Welcome,
about
Gloria.
our historical bicentennial quilt, which is hanging in the main entrance lobby as you come into the town hall. So that quilt is over 42 years old. And to commemorate the bicentennial in 1976, the state asked all the towns and cities to appoint a bicentennial commission, which we did, and Ed Desjardins chaired it. Then they challenged all the cities and towns to put together a quilt signifying and representing all the historical places in their communities. And they said they would be a competition, a state competition. So Georgetown did in fact put together a group of women. There were 30 women. It was chaired by Carolyn Chamberlain, who has since deceased. She was a seamstress. And we had several meetings. She kept copious notes, which we have come in contact, which have been turned over to us by a family member who fortunately found them and has the wisdom to pass them on to us. So the quilt has been hanging there. We did complete it. It took like a year's work. The Thompsons down in Charles Street opened up their home, and we had an historic frame sent up to us from Kentucky by a resident that lived here who had a family member that had this antique quilting frame. It was huge. And they set it up in their home in the middle of their dining room. And we all took turns going up quilting. The quilting on this quilt is done by hand. There were 6 stitches to the inch taken for all of the quilting that's done on it. So it was quite a task. We entered it into the competition, and we took second prize out of 150 quilts.
Wow.
So our
Congratulations.
quilt took second place in the state in its category, which is quilt made by a group, not made by one person. So we're pretty proud of the quilt. We did have that frame. Ed Desjardins designed the frame. The one thing we're missing, the piece of information, is I cannot find who built the frame. I don't know if it was a local craftsman or, you know, a friend of a resident or what. If anybody knows, we'd love to know who built the frame. Ed designed it. We have his plans. So I've put together this book with all of the equipment, not the equipment, all of the data, all her handwritten notes, all the meetings, all the people she consulted. We have newspaper articles about it in the back. This will be kept in the library. We have some really nice pictures of the quilt, you know, that Buffy took, real nice quality pictures, professional pictures. But what we're asking for, as you look at the quilt, Most people signed the squares that did them, not everybody did. And not every square designates what it actually represents in town. So we'd like to put up a plaque that's lined up exactly as the quilt is, 5 across, 6 down, naming each square and naming the person who stitched it. These were all stitched individually and then put together by Buffy Thompson. So we have a quote for the plaque. We'd like permission to hang it on the wall that is at a right angle to the quilt. Many of the people that worked on that quilt have deceased. They're not with us anymore. And so, you know, it's 42 years now since the quilt was made, and it would be nice to put something up permanent so that you can see who made the quilt and name the squares. Yes.
So that would be the wall, as you come in the front door.
As you come in the front door, the quilt is
the
here
quilt
to your
is there,
left, and
you're
then the
talking
wall that is like
Oh.
continuation of the door.
All
There
right,
is enough
okay.
room there for like a 16 by 20 plaque.
All right, yeah, I'm just trying to determine whether it is when you came in.
Yeah, it would be the
space there that
same
as
wall.
people came in.
It's the same wall
Yeah,
that
okay.
the door is on. So there is enough room there. It might be a little dark. We may be back asking for a light over it. But so anyway, we're just basically looking for your blessing to hang a plaque designating the squares on the quilt and the people who, recognizing the people who did it. So if you have any other questions.
Any questions of the board?
No, I hope that this goes through. I know Mrs. Chamberlain very well.
She did a lot of work on this,
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Yeah,
I mean,
I remember those
was,
days.
you know, a lot of people did a lot of work on this, but she did, and then she took the bus and hand carried it to Boston to enter it in the competition.
So I do have
And
a question.
so we're pretty proud of it.
Was Bob Hunter still alive when that quilt was done?
Yes,
So maybe he did.
he might have, he might have. I can't find anything in the documentation
Maybe Edward
stating
Bell.
who built it, but I'm thinking it could have been a local craftsman, and he certainly would have been one.
Paul Thompson was very close with him. He may know
Yeah,
too.
Paul might know
but,
too.
Yeah,
Paul Thompson?
I'll ask Paul.
yeah.
Ask Paul. I mean, I asked Buffy if she knew, and she said no, they didn't.
Oh.
But,
Oh, okay.
but if you can find out, that would be wonderful, because it's kind of a missing link. The other missing link that I really haven't looked for is everyone who worked on this had to sign a legal, sort of a legal document, a release to the town. We relinquished this quilt to the town so that, for instance, my granddaughter can't come to you and say, my grandmother made that, I want it. So we have, those of us that worked on it, we have relinquished ownership and have formally passed this on to the town. And I know we all signed an individual document, and I don't know where that is. It's probably in Selectmen's archives somewhere, but it was 40 years ago, so I don't know.
Are we still taking good care of the quilt, I guess, might be a good
We-
question, or is there
We
any?
are. It's in amazing condition,
Okay.
and I think, you know, it's behind glass.
Yes,
And it doesn't get a lot of light.
All right.
Some people have kind of complained about that it's not in a very good spot or a very visible spot, but I think that is exactly the reason why it's in such good condition. It's in excellent condition.
So it hasn't faded at all?
Very, very little. The material that was used, interestingly, there was a fabric shop in town at the time, and the gentleman that ran the shop donated all of the fabric, and he told us what kind to use. It's got kind of a sheen finish, so we all had to use the same fabric, we had to use the same thread. Cotton thread had to be new thread, no knots. You know, we were very specific in putting it together with an eye towards longevity.
Okay,
So-
if there are no other questions, do I hear a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd move that the Board of Selectmen authorize the Historical Commission to place a plaque by the quilt, the bicentennial quilt, in Town Hall.
All right, you got a motion?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
They?
Thank you very much.
Great.
The other thing
Thank
I would just like to add is now we have a quilt shop in town, and Terry has offered to pay for the plaque. So,
Oh,
so the plaque is
that's nice
being
of her.
donated by our quilt shop. Thank you very much.
thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right. So next on our agenda, the folks from Greenbridge. You guys want to come up? Well, we have everything on. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
If you could identify yourselves, please.
Sure, I'm attorney Pierce Haley from the law firm of Searle and Haley in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And with me is Rick McDonald. He's the CEO of Greenbridge Health.
Welcome.
From Manchester, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Manchester by the sea.
We've lived there too long to call it that. Locals don't call it Manchester by the
No, we
sea.
don't.
So Attorney Healy, I know that you're here to discuss a
16.
facility, okay? And so what we're gonna do is initially what, I'm gonna give you the floor. Maybe you can give us a little background on what you're trying to accomplish.
Sure.
And then we will have some questions, I'm sure, for.
Perfect. So thank you very much, gentlemen.
Sure.
Lady. Thank you, Janet. So we are looking at 16 Carlton Drive to put in a medicinal marijuana growing facility. There would not be any sales from that facility at all. The current location is 51,000 square feet. It has been owned by the Enos brothers behind me, Barry and Jack. Actually, Jack is a former selectman here in Georgetown, and they're represented by Anthony Triglione. Representing Greenbridge Health today is, of course, Rick McDonald. He's the CEO. He's a North Shore guy. And Bruce Dean is also with us. He's the Chief Security Officer. And he's a former Assistant District Attorney in both Middlesex and Suffolk counties, and is a certified fraud examiner as well. Everybody on the management team of Greenbridge is a Massachusetts resident, but for one, Corey Barnett is the CEO of District Growers, which is a Washington, D.C. based medicinal marijuana concern, and we've partnered with him to bring his expertise here. But Rick has experience in Maine, Rhode Island, Illinois, Connecticut. So we're not new to this game. But because of Massachusetts and the way that the law has been drafted, we saw an opportunity here, and so we wanted to come and help us and help the town of Georgetown. Currently, right now, 16 Carlton Drive, the location is a dumpster manufacturer, for lack of a better sense. So there's a lot of heavy trucking that goes in and out of there. We're looking to put a secure growing facility. It would all be indoors. We would put between 35 and 50 employees there. All the growing would be done. It would be again, secure site. Our clinics, what we're looking to do with the grown marijuana is to sell it in the greater Metro Boston area. It would not be sold here. We're not looking to put a clinic here. We're not looking to put a recreational clinic here. Just grow the marijuana here. I believe our proposal provides minimal impact for the town of Georgetown, with the potential for a great upside based on the fact of the tax base and the jobs and what I usually refer to as the federal multiplier, which is those employees that are working there are going to be shopping here, getting their gas here, eating at the sandwich shops here, and doing other things here. So that's kind of the high 1,000-foot view of what we're looking to do. We provided you with a little cover with the bios of the management team. As you can see, the management team has some experienced people with it. Again, Corey from District Growers. Cheryl Bartlett, Director of Community Programming. She was the former Commissioner of Department of Public Health in Massachusetts. And then, as you can see, our board members are former emergency room doctors and advocates for diversity in the city of Boston, and well-respected individuals in public health. And our accounting and finances are going to be run by Mary Fran McKinsey, who's a certified public accountant. So basically what happened was we signed a lease for 16 Carlton Drive.
You already signed the lease?
Yep. And what we're kind of stuck between moving forward with the planning board, because we need a letter of non-opposition from the town to move forward. And so that's why we're here today. to, I'm not asking you to vote on it today. I'm just looking for the flag to go up to say that we can continue these discussions.
Okay, so you are not looking for us to vote today?
If you want to,
No,
we
I don't think we're prepared to,
Yeah.
which is why I wanna make sure that, you have the right expectations.
Yes, no.
Of that, so, okay. All right, is that it? Okay, so questions from the board?
How big is that facility?
51,000 square feet.
The entire building is 83,000, we'll be taking 51,000.
So the building's 83, 50 was, what happens with is the current
There's still an
business there?
existing manufacturing company
Okay.
on one side of it.
Okay,
We'll
so
be
they'll
taking,
be staying,
they'll be safe for the time being. We'll be taking over the 51,000 square feet. We may or may not want to more, if we expand eventually, when these other people, their lease runs out, we'll take a look at that. We'll have an option on that. Our goal right now is 51,000 square feet.
okay, when does that lease run out, do you know?
I'd probably have to refer to Mary.
Do you know?
Current lease,
Yeah.
December 31st.
Of this year? Okay,
This is not the other longer term tenant.
Northern Power has a lease that runs for another 7 years.
Okay, 7 years.
Side.
7 years.
The existing tenant that we'll be taking over, they run out on December 31st of this year.
Yep.
That's the 51,000 square feet. The other space goes on for 7 years.
Okay,
So the 51,000 square feet is more than that takes care of us.
okay. Now, you're generally growing for medicinal purposes
Yes.
right now, okay? So, with everything going on, with the state passed, is that going to change? Are you expanding because of that vote in Massachusetts? No, so this is still intended for medicinal purposes?
This is strictly intended for medicinal. We put this together before we don't know no one knows exactly where recreation is going. We're not particularly inclined to want to support recreation. That doesn't mean that we won't if they pass. My group, particularly from Cheryl Bartlett, from DPH, from the community leaders that we're looking to work with in inner city Boston, we would prefer just focusing on medical purposes. But in terms of this facility here, all we're doing is growing the marijuana. I mean, whether it goes to recreation or whether it goes to medicinal, there's no implication that one way or the other. But I will tell you, our entire business plan is focused on 3 dispensaries growing on medical purposes.
Okay. Selectman Sadler?
I'll just be upfront with you guys. I don't have a decision either way. If I'd be interested in having another facility in town, I'm open to hear all the details about it and what you guys' plans are. But what you probably know that we already have a facility in town, so it's dispensary and cultivation.
Correct.
It's pretty recent, so we really don't know what the impact is of that business, how it's gonna impact the community, perception of the community having it in our town. So personally, I would like to kind of give it some time and see how things play out, how this business does, how it impacts the community, our town services as well. But again, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to it. I just, at this particular time, I'd like to take the wait and see approach and see how things play out with that business. But
Well, I would just say that the existing business is a heavy trucking operation. We would be taking that off the roads of Georgetown, replacing it with 35 to 50 employees that would come in the morning and leave in the evening. You wouldn't even know we were there because we're not a retail location. So
This has nothing to do with the public. We're in the community, obviously, but the public doesn't go, and they're just not allowed to touch it.
and
a
if you're
lockdown
aware where
facility.
16 Carlton Drive is, it's right off the highway. It's the first right off the highway.
I think, gentlemen, that, if I may, I think, the general public has their own idea of what is impactful. We understand that no one's gonna hear you,
Yeah.
It's not like our facility now, but, the general public, your industry, might throw off, some people in town, especially where we already have a facility, if we have another facility. you know, it could be impactful for a lot of folks that they might say, all right, you know, what's going on here, you know, that
Sure.
kind of thing. So,
If I may just address,
Absolutely.
one of the things that I think that our facility would do is, right now, we all know that the budget is level funded from the state. Chapter 70 monies for the education are going to be level funded or down from last year. And so we would provide well-needed tax revenue that would benefit the town and the schools.
Wait a minute, medical marijuana is not taxed.
No, but our facility
Well,
we would have to have a host agreement. We would pay property taxes. So there's,
well, we currently pay property taxes are currently paid in that building.
correct. But that tenant leaves on December 31st.
But our expectation is we would enter into some agreement that made it financially advantageous for the town.
Mr. Chair? if I may?
yes, sir.
So this is your first foray into the cannabis industry? Oh, wait a minute, you have experience in Connecticut, right?
Rick has been involved in half the clinics in Maine, 1/3 of the clinics in Rhode Island, and 1 of 6 in Connecticut, and also a dispensary in Illinois. Am I correct in all that?
I think Corey Barnett has been involved. Corey Barnett runs these district growers in Washington.
Have you looked in other communities around this area on the North Shore for your growing facility?
We've looked at a couple of different places. We're basically looking for property. We drove our search primarily by location, physical location. Being on the North Shore, I wanted something on the North Shore, ideally. We do have other places that have been made offers to us, but as far as convenience and locality, in the very far in this South Coast, there's a couple of properties that would love to go out there. The trend in this industry is go to the other side of Holyoke, it seems like, where there's, you're out in the middle of nowhere, but we're looking to be some place that makes more sense in terms of where we're looking for our distribution. There's a couple of towns around here that are doing things, and we've looked at different things. We think Georgetown would be, I mean, we love this location only because I think that we would be, with due respect to the town, I understand, but we would be invisible. I mean, it's a road that most people in town, I suspect, don't even know exist. It's on the end of the cul-de-sac, and it's going to be a lockdown facility.
Right, so your distribution sites would actually be in metropolitan Boston?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
would any of those dispensaries be located in Cambridge?
No.
Question, Mike, good question, yes. If you don't mind me asking, where are they in Boston? Do they have any? Do they have any elevations? No.
I don't know if you already have the dispensaries in.
We've kind of looked at it this way. We need a place to grow it before we can go and lock down where we're
So
going to
that's what
sell
I'm
it.
saying, so you don't have any other locations?
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Well, we've got one right now that we're putting a lease together right now, but I think, with the greatest respect, I'd be happy to share that off the record.
Yep. Yeah,
but
there's a
public-
purpose for the question.
Yeah.
Believe me, we're not, trying to pry.
No.
But, we're trying to.
That's your role.
cover some bases here, so.
Off the record, I'd be more than happy to share.
Absolutely. That's fine.
We feel fairly comfortable with a couple of properties that we're looking at right now, or locations. If you look at our board of directors, there are a number of people who are very, very affluent in the inner city community that have, and they're there for a reason, and they're working for us. And this, again, if I can digress a little bit, because you asked a moment ago about the recreation versus medical. I've got a team that's predominantly involved in research, and medicinal marijuana makes sense for us in terms of what we think is going forward with regard to this industry. The recreation is just environmental noise that we're not, because we're aware of it. We certainly are, it's judicious. If I had my choice, we would have pushed this out for another 4 or 5 years, but it is what it is. The folks that we have on our board basically are looking to develop community health programs that are health-oriented for what we're talking about in different parts of Boston, that they think that if marijuana is going to come, let's do it right, as opposed to having these facilities that are more, it's an interesting industry. There's some interesting characters. We think we're Boston-based, we're good guys, we're very, very good, and ladies. Very, very solid team. I'm very, very proud of my team, and we take this really seriously. So we look at properties. We're a little different than an awful lot of people out there looking for throwing darts across the map. And I'd be happy to take that conversation offhand. I'm transparent as all get out and share with you.
Sure.
I'd rather
No,
not do it in public with TV going. until we have everything
Well,
sealed.
certainly, it's a new industry. I mean, it's an old plant, but a new industry, and the prohibition's being lifted. So, I think that if things are done properly, it can be very advantageous to the country, never mind the various localities.
I know I'm here to sell you on being able to allow us to come in here, but I'm gonna tell you that one's gonna do a better job and be more conscientious and be a better neighbor.
Mr. McDonald, what is the timeframe that you have? I mean, I know December is the timeframe of the tenant, moving out. You guys go in. After that, what is your timeframe? What is your plan?
We are halfway through the process with DPH. We'll be coming up with what's called a siting profile sometime fairly shortly, at which point we need to go forward with them as far as what locations we're working with, both dispensaries and or cultivation facilities. When we get that granted, we're in what's called then a provisional certificate provisional certificate stage. So we anticipate the siting profile will be somewhat within 30 days at this point. We've been in there for 30 days already. They typically go from anywhere from 6 weeks to 8 weeks. So in terms of my expectations, sometime towards the tail end of the summer, we should hopefully be in a position to be able to go back to DPH with siting provisions for siting locations if we have those in place by then. Humor me when I say we don't until it's latter part of the latter part of end of third quarter, early fourth quarter, where we can then go forward with a lease with a letter of non-opposition or support to do DPH. At that point, I probably have another 9 months for DPH going through its process, us going through construction. So if we are on track, where our business plan would suggest maybe we're going to be open in the fourth quarter of 2018, on my numbers, my projections, I have us coming in at the end of December of 2018.
Okay.
Love to have it be faster, but
Sure. I'm sure. Selectman Fowler. Anything?
We've got, as a board, a little bit of history of going through this once already. So I'm concerned, how would your security work where there's two tenants in the same building? Yes, is that
it's.
I guess it's doable, otherwise you
very
wouldn't be
doable.
trying to do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very, very doable. That's not a particularly strong, they're going to
Okay.
be it's a very secure entrance. Security is a big issue. You have to take it seriously. You're required to take it very, very seriously.
Yeah.
People next door aren't even gonna know we're there.
In some of the communities that have these facilities, they have cameras on the outside, cameras on the inside. The cameras are direct wired so we could direct wire them to the Georgetown Police if they
Actually,
wanted.
It's microwave. It's Bluetooth.
Bluetooth, sorry.
We're
Yeah, it's wireless. It's
we're
not.
we're not cable anymore. It's all Bluetooth.
So, but I mean, you can do all those types of things.
Okay.
We would be putting lights and cameras around the building. We would basically secure our side of the property. And we're gonna improve the building fairly significantly.
Okay, as far as I am concerned, I would like to keep this moving forward, just to let you know. But obviously, as a board, we've got other things that we also need to consider. But just as you were going through, one note that I wrote down, that I have to have a concern with, you're talking about the employees you're gonna have, but should there be a concern of the employees who are perhaps there now? I mean, is that, when that lease runs out, I guess?
Well, she's moving to, Southern New Hampshire, Portsmouth.
Okay, so that facility is moving.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not, okay.
Going with
No,
her.
that pretty much answers the question. We're not just putting people out of work. That place is moving.
We also have a
Okay.
commitment. We'd be more happy to work with the town in terms of favoring local people for hires.
So in other words,
Um,
you're coming into a building that is gonna be vacant as of December 31st
Right.
because the tenant's leaving with plans to put something in so that it's not just another vacant building in town. So,
That's correct.
which I think is a good move, so. I think that's it right now.
Okay, thank you. Selectman Salad.
You guys mentioned that we wouldn't even know that you're there. How do you plan on delivering the product to, I assume that you guys have to have trucks come in and get.
They come in trucks, but the trucks are very, you're talking you wouldn't even know that, you're not talking about a lot of deliveries by any stretch of the imagination. And
How many, like, do do you guys have an estimate of how many?
I think you're looking more at vans than trucks.
It's not gonna be, yeah, you're not talking tractor trailer trucks, you're talking about delivery vans, and you're probably talking about, maybe 4 to 6 a week.
Okay.
Once a day is more than we'd be doing.
Would you be delivering to any, I forget what they call them, a home care provider?
No,
Not from
so
here.
the way the law is structured and written is we would only be able to deliver to the 3 locations that are under our operation. So it's a closed loop system. You get 1 growing location, 3 clinics. If you go beyond that, you'd have to set up a separate company, go through the Department of Public Health operation again, go through all the licensing and permitting again.
So you couldn't wholesale your
No,
products?
not under the law in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts is what's called a vertical state, where basically you grow what you sell what you grow. So there's a very small, minimal threshold because there isn't much of a supply in Massachusetts. But the intention of the law is basically what you sell what you grew, and you don't grow wholesale and then distribute elsewhere. Other states are like that. Connecticut, for example, is like that. It's competition. You can, if I were cultivating, I can sell to any one of the licensed dispensaries that are out there. Massachusetts is very simple. This one facility, this cultivation facility will exist to supply 3 dispensaries, up to 3 dispensaries. Those dispensaries are the only outlet that the public has access to whatsoever.
Gotcha, okay. Okay, so your estimate in terms of when you would start growing, that's, the contingency is that you can get into other towns to open up dispensaries, right?
Yes.
Well, as we said, we have 1 location that we're preparing to sign a contract with now.
Okay.
But we still, and we have 2 other locations that we can accommodate.
Okay. That's all I have.
And again, I'll be happy to share that if that's important, but they're greater metropolitan locations. They're in town, and it's indicative of the people that we have on our board and the community leaders that are part of our organization to find places that make sense for the particular communities with a very, very large bent towards health management. I mean, I'm not here to sell or pontificate the benefits of medical marijuana or not, but I mean, the bottom line is using medical marijuana as a non-narcotic pain management vehicle is a very, very integral to what we're talking about. There's a lot of, on the outside, on the outliers on both, you take medical marijuana as a core, that's fine. On the outliers on both sides, there's crazy stuff out there. We all know that. And our objective is to turn around and be very clear about focusing on the core. That's one of the reasons why with some of the people, in particular, if you look at the woman on your left-hand hand by your thumb right there, I just slipped over there, but you go back to the former Department of, you look at Cheryl Bartlett and what she's done as a former commissioner of DPH. She's very clear about creating organization structures and programs that are all geared towards health in the various communities. You look at Elmer Freeman. Elmer Freeman has 44 years of research for impact-based programs, medical programs, from community hospitals and major metropolitan hospitals around Boston in the various communities in Boston for measuring impact. I mean, these guys are, if I brought you Elmer's true bio, it's 10 pages long because of the white papers and the publishing that he's done on this whole area. And again, I'd be more information you probably need to know right now, but I would be more than happy to give you as much data, much backup you want as far as who we are, what we are, as possible, because we take this pretty seriously. We think that this is a cut above in terms of the deliverables from the medicinal side of things. I know a number of people here in the greater Boston community where they've imported people from Colorado or California, whatever it may be, for outsourcing a lot of the activities, and we look at that and just go, that's our competition, but our mission, our mandate right now is to be cut different than that.
Are you planning to only grow and then cultivate from there? Are you gonna actually process within the facility like edibles or?
We will probably do edibles there, yeah.
We'll process
We'll do an oil extraction for which we have the oils in there for.
Okay.
I'm a very big believer in the medicinal side is gonna be tinctures, creams, oils, salves, topical, so it's really more, and frankly, for what's interesting is that part of the industry is growing rapidly. Smoking a joint is a declining business right now. It's going down. 40 to 45% of the medical marijuana, at least, certainly, is in tinctures, creams, pills, lozenges, tinctures melting underneath your tongue, and you're gonna have epidural bandages and things along that line. That's what as both technology and research continue in this space, that's where you gotta go. I mean, I can tell you in Maine, for example, the average age of Maine is a 54-year-old coming in for pain management. We've got 74-year-old women coming up with getting little jars to rub on their fingers for arthritis and circulatory issues. The people are taking this stuff because they can't sleep at night and don't want to take some of the heavy duty stuff. That's the core of what we're looking for. This is not, I swear to, I'm loving this. I give these talks too damn much time. This is not Cheech and Chong going down the California Highway 5 in a Volkswagen bus with smoke pouring out the windows anymore. And that's obviously, we joke, but that's the world that I have to move away from or educate people in terms of what we're doing, where we're going, and what's important to us.
Selectman Dawson,
So
any
I
other
just had,
question?
the type of jobs that you would offer, would you, like, forgive me if I get the, pronounce the word wrong, but I believe it's an agronomist,
Well,
whatever.
that's a higher end, but yeah, I mean, what we're looking for are gardeners, cultivators. These are people that are not necessarily highly skilled. They can learn the business of growing.
Like cloning and all?
Yeah, but cloning still takes a little more training and going through the standard operating procedures and so forth. We'll have in this facility, if we have this facility, we're so lucky to have that, we'll probably have 12 gardeners. You have weeders, waterers, gardeners, literally. You've got people doing the cloning and the trimming, another part of it. So there's a number of different jobs that are very, very easily attainable or trainable. They're gonna go from $38,000 to $60,000 a year in income. With benefits, full benefit package. I mean, they're real and legitimate jobs. We'd hope that we would have, I think there's an awful lot of people in there that are trying to understand what's going on in this industry for training, because they probably will have some skill sets that are transferable. Simplistically, if Corey was here, he'd probably kick me for making it overly simplistic, but give me someone who's worked at a greenhouse growing, just growing perennials, and I'll tell you there's someone who's got a pretty good jump already in understanding how to grow plants or growing plants. So the agronomists, I mean, it gets a little bit more complicated, but we grow on an aeroponic. So once upon a time, you put things in dirt. Okay, second generation, and this is where even the one down the street, they're growing in hydroponics. The higher end, as you go up the ladder, it's aeroponic. Aeroponics is you've got water going through the plant, and the plant's growing in coconut husks. And basically, it's a drip system, but the plant is basically it's growing. It's aeroponic driven growth.
Okay.
And I apologize. More information you probably all need to know, but
I'm trying to educate myself, so.
come on down once we get up and running.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Not so much a question, but I guess
Yeah.
a more question for the board, where do we go now? Cause
Well, yeah,
do you
I
have
mean-
any ideas or?
Yeah, I mean,
For tonight,
No, we're not gonna be doing anything for tonight. I think that, there's a lot of information to process. We're also short a member, of the board tonight, and this is something that I would like for him, to be part of. So, from that standpoint, at the very least, we appreciate you coming in to talk and give us some information about what you're trying to do. And Mike, what are your ideas about how we proceed from here? Because personally, I'd like to talk amongst the board, and then maybe our next meeting is August 21st.
That's
How-
that's quite a ways out.
Yeah, it's quite a ways out. But what is your time frame in terms of how quickly you would like a decision?
I don't want to be silly about it, but as soon as we can. I mean, that's a long way out. And
It is
we got
certainly a
of work
long
to
way
do.
out, and if need be, we could always call a meeting before that.
And we're obviously, we're around the corner, so we'd be happy to sit down and give you guys whatever
We
information
can come
you need.
back whenever you want. We'll bring whoever you want on the board
Yeah.
or on the management team to come back and
Yeah,
speak with
and
you.
there's also some due diligence on our end. We gotta, we have some things to explore. So, what I would say is, let us kind of, take this all in. We have some discussions, internally with our board that we have to have. We have to, again, research, some things that, that are questions, for us right now. And, again, our next formal meeting is August 21st, but if we have, some feedback, this is certainly worth us calling maybe a special meeting, and we can come back together, with our 5th board member.
I would appreciate
and,
that, Jim.
yeah,
That would-
and we
because,
can go
we
from
all know
there.
summer's coming, and
Yeah, the other part, I mean, one area automatically for me is to bring in our chief of police. We have to have him involved in
I
this.
think that
So-
if your chief and Bruce
Yep.
met, matter of fact, if it's okay to arrange that for him, Bruce, and the two of them to get to talk a little bit about what we're looking to do, what he's looking to do, I think that might be helpful.
I think that would be okay, right, Mike? Well, to introduce us, or would it
Bruce
have to
lives
be-
in Newbury, so he's at West Newbury, so he's up the street.
Well, I think we still have some internal.
Right,
issues.
right, exactly. I mean, once we get to our internal discussions, would that be okay?
Yeah.
If we get to that point, okay.
It's
So-
actually a requirement for us.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we have to make the
Well,
rounds.
and that's, I guess, what I'm getting to.
That's
There's a lot of, people we have to talk to and everything else, so, Selectman Dawes.
Have you left your contact information with, Mike?
We will, and I have. We've
have
spoken a
Pierce's
couple times.
Contact information, both email and telephone.
Okay.
If I may,
I run a money,
Yes, sir.
would I be, I don't think I'm premature, but should I perhaps suggest that we perhaps put together the same team like we had before to sort of advise us, or if, cause where it is a month and a half out, at least there would be some form of communication that we'd be directing, we had Selectman Dawes and Mike and the attorney if needed, just as a contact that
I think that's a great idea. If we get to that point, again, we have some internal discussions between us first.
I understand
as a
that.
board. But yes, if we get beyond that and we feel like it's something that we want to, move forward with, and if Selectman Dawes would like to do that, then certainly, yes. All right, any other questions from the board? Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very
We really
much.
appreciate it. We'll
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you very
explore
much.
this, and
Thank you.
we'll be
Great
in touch,
meeting you.
okay?
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You
Appreciate
guys
your
have a
time.
website?
not yet, no. No, we really don't. I can give you access to some of the things that we have some relations to that you might see the look and feel, but from the
Oh,
dispensary
sure, you
level,
can just
but-
give them to Mike and then he
Yeah.
can give them to me.
Yeah, but so far right now, it's early enough that I'm not sure how much information we put on there yet. It's just such a movie, it's, till things are settled in, we can't really, it's probably premature to put too much in there either. And the big thing I can get you, if you want fuller, if you're gonna do due diligence, larger, more in-depth bios, if that's important to you, things like that. Whatever you guys like, obviously, we're pretty darn transparent as far as that goes.
Sure.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much. Bye now.
Good night, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, so getting back to the agenda. Let's start off at the top. So minutes of June 26th. This is, hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring up on the minutes? Anybody got it? No? All right, do I hear a motion to accept?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of the Board of Selectmen's meeting from June 26, 2017 as presented.
Motion, do I hear a second?
second. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? And if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 It is unanimous.
The Greenbelt people aren't here, or do we need to have them here?
Yeah,
All right, so,
to the police chief was in contact with him today, and he was okay with, the route that they planned.
moving forward, we're gonna go to the P card discussion. Okay? So this is, something that, we passed over at our last meeting because of time. So I do wanna make sure we, have this discussion, around this. Mike, can you give us some background on this?
Yes, we've been looking into this for several years now. Most recently, though, Suzanne Sutherland, the finance director at the school, approached our finance team and brought this topic up. She has experience with this in her previous position. A lot of towns have gone in this direction. It's not a credit card. It's I guess the best way I can explain it is the old-fashioned American Express card, where you don't have any spending limit, although we would institute spending limits. And then everything gets paid at the end of the month.
In full.
In full.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly the percentage, but there are credits earned and cash payments are made at the end of each year. And then
Cash back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
Rewards.
yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Rewards program.
The advantages of this are multiple. We would set the limits to coincide, number one, with the procurement laws. Right now, you can buy goods and services up to $10,000 using best business practices. And best business practices is defined as, looking at websites for pricing, finding out who's the most reliable suppliers, and with the best prices. It's not low bid, it's a combination. You want the best prices, but you want reliable products and reliable product sellers. So many things now we have the opportunity to purchase online. That's where the really good prices are. We have a couple brick and mortar credit cards, but they're in the town's name only, and somebody has to, like for specific, like, what?
Home Depot.
Home Depot.
Lowe's, Staples.
Yeah, those kind of things. But we tried to purchase, it was the software,
Log Me In.
Log Me In. The only way, we buy like 5 seats on Log Me In for certain positions so they can work from home, if necessary. And several of mostly the financial people, the seats are paid for them, so they can get payroll done on time, warrants done on time. But that Log Me In only took credit cards, and so we were able to do a workaround with the Boston Systems Solutions. They paid for it with their credit card and then billed us. Another instance, a couple years ago, the police chief had to have a car repaired, and they would only take a credit card. And he had to use his personal credit card for thousands of dollars of repairs to
Which you shouldn't have to do. You shouldn't have to do that.
good prices and convenience, no cost, and a lot of control. We would, initially, our plans would be to issue cards in the name of police chief, fire chief, and highway department, Peter, and give them a $10,000 limit. Other departments then could utilize like an in-house P card and come to, our town accountant is the keeper of the credit cards right now, and we'd probably keep it that way. And if they needed to make a purchase, then they'd ask Mary for permission to use the card. She can look at their budget and see that there's money budgeted for that category and that limit. And and we're only gonna be writing one check each month. The warrant should shrink considerably, I would think. The more people get used to using it, more of our vendors get used to using it too. I think our warrants will, be a lot less paperwork all around.
Mike, you done?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about those.
So, who would the authorized users be? Any employee of the town?
No, that, I just the police chief, fire chief,
Peter.
and Peter, and
Carol Jacobs?
Suzanne Sutherland.
Okay, the business.
Yeah. In this packet, they're asking for authorization for the school department to set up, really, because they would probably name their principals to be able to use the card too. I haven't talked to Suzanne about the specifics there, but they would set their own limits, but they're required to purchase under the same purchasing procurement laws. So, $10,000 limit would probably be the best for them. They might have maybe a super card that
Right.
they could, use more.
Well, I guess what I was getting at is, because now we've expanded from the school business manager to possibly principals. And so now, could we also use that same logic and say, well, maybe the police and fire chiefs would allow their lieutenant and deputy chief to use? So I just wondered, just how many deep do we go? I think that's what has to be figured out.
Well,
You need a policy, Mike, right? So you'd
well,
have
we,
to, yeah.
we
I
do
mean,
have, there is one.
There is a credit card policy in
Yeah.
place right now, but you'd have to update that.
No, this
Right.
isn't in place, actually. This credit card, use policy, it called, for all intents and purposes, it's a P-card use policy.
Oh, sorry, okay.
It was given to us by it was developed by our auditors,
Right.
so,
So that just needs to be implemented, so that'll
Yes.
handle any.
yeah,
Any
matter of
issues
fact,
there, so, yeah.
as I stated, we've been working on this for a few years. We first talked about it in 2013.
So do we see any significant savings by using it?
Well-
Being that they could maybe combine with group purchasing? Others within the
No,
group.
no, there would be no significant savings for group purchasing.
Well, no, just overall, other than paper, would there be savings? To go to P-card, does it save the town money?
Well, we were able to, we get cash back at the end of the year. I mean, if we spend $100,000, we're gonna get a, 1%, 2%, or 3% payment back.
But
That's
just having the P-card doesn't necessarily mean that you may find a place that sells less expensively than anybody else. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
Are we looking-
the answer is yes, though.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
the answer is
mean,
yes, you
w-
can.
w-
Well,
That's
was
why I
waiting
said
for Mike to tell me.
often, well, I thought I covered that, you know, they're able to buy things online less expensively than from brick and mortar stores.
Yeah, if I may, Mike, you know, talking to the police chief, he was able to purchase. There was a number of, I think it was flashlights, you know, for the officers. Whereas if he went to the brick and mortar, it was going to be X. But going online, admittedly, he got, you know, a considerable decrease in the price on, you know, I think it was 20 flashlights that he had to buy. Now, you know, again, take that same transaction. Chief had to use his own personal credit card, you know, to buy those because you're online. But it was worth it because he was getting that discount online. Okay, so the answer is yes. I mean, you absolutely get, you know, discounts by having the P card. It opens up a new way to purchase, you know, rather than going, you know, here and there. And also it saves on, you know, time. If he had to go to Home Depot to buy these flashlights or wherever he's going, all right, that took X amount of time, took X amount of gas, you know, all that wear and tear or whatever you want to call it. I mean, it goes on, you know, on and on. Whereas he could have just gone online like he did, buy and bang, shipped, all done, and it's over.
This isn't for emergency use. This is as a way of purchasing.
Everyday purchase.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we're not gonna run to Home Depot to buy everything every day. So I'm just, is there any idea, any estimates on the amount of savings we could see with that? I mean, other
Other
communities that
than
may
the,
use that.
other than the cashback,
Yeah.
no. Because we don't buy it there now. We buy from brick and mortar stores for all intents and purposes.
Never mind, I'll talk to you later about it because we're going around the bush.
Yeah,
You know?
sorry.
Because with one hand, you say that now they can purchase on the internet. And they'll have
Yes.
this P card to do.
That's right.
Well, that saves them from having to go to a brick and mortar store.
But the,
Order it through the brick and mortar store. They may find another merchandiser that sells it for less.
online,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Was there
but I can't quantify that.
I just didn't know if you would talk to other communities that may be using P card and they had some type of idea of what they save by using it.
Yeah,
No, okay.
the only thing
that's all I was asking.
they can tell me is how much cash back they get back.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's tough to quantify too because you don't know how much you're purchasing
Yeah,
and what you're purchasing.
The town of Lexington spends $600,000 a year through their P card.
Okay.
And, you know, they get 3% back.
Okay.
Do the math.
All right, well, that's all I was
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Selectman Taylor.
Yeah, I have no issue with it. I mean, it looks like we've had a credit card policy in place, this year. I think it's gonna, streamline things, which we always wanna do, right? The only question I have is, why did it take 3 years to get, I mean, was there some underlying concern that it's been 3 years to get this to the point?
We had some internal debates,
Okay.
and
Is
those.
there any concern that
Not
that we
now.
have today? No.
No, those
Okay.
concerns have been alleviated.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Selectman Fowler?
Yeah, we've got a resolution here for us to vote on and for you to sign, but this is mentions, if I'm reading it correctly, just the Georgetown School Committee and Public Schools. And I agree with what Steve said. It will be streamlining, it will be better, but I am concerned about the future and how many of these get out there. So I'm wondering, is there a way that we can do this with a limit? You know, I was reading this over. At first, I thought that this looks like it's for one card, but I think this is pretty much allowing the school committee or Georgetown Public Schools to get as many as they want. And so I'm a little concerned on that avenue. You know, like I think what Mike said is great for what we do as a town. And if we could say, yeah, we're gonna let these be there for that, and anybody else would come before us. So I guess I've, again, just gotta put my faith in the school committee that they're gonna do the same thing.
And we
So,
vote
and
on the
that's what
policy.
I'm wondering, does this policy right now, the way I'm reading it, is just for the school committee?
That's the authorization
Yeah.
to use for them. They
Yeah,
use-
I don't mean by the policy, why, I worded it wrong. This authorization that this looks like we're looking to vote on tonight, if I'm correct.
Yes.
If I could, Gary, though, so we in the eighties, we approved a credit card policy. I would think that as a board, if we're going to switch over now these P cards, we should approve a policy.
Yeah, perhaps ahead,
For
and
that.
that
So to
that
your
is
point,
here.
That might be,
Part of
something
what
to
we
add
put in
to
the
it.
policy,
Exactly.
because the
Right.
policy that's in front of us does look a little vague. I was just reading something, it must have been on the back here, and it says that, this is page 2 of that, Department of Revenue. It says, written safeguards for P cards should be promulgated by the city auditor or comptroller. Okay, we don't have that, anything like that in front of us tonight, I don't believe. Or are you just?
That's what this credit card policy is.
Okay. All right. So is there anything on there? I mean, I'm gonna admit, I had looked this all over for our last meeting. I did not look it over tonight. There may be some stuff highlighted in last week's package. I guess it comes back to how do we make sure we've got some sort of a limit that this thing doesn't grow out of hand, I
In
guess.
terms of how many cards you have,
Yes.
or the dollar amount? Okay.
If I could, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just
sir.
in terms of process, so are we all in agreement that before we give the schools the go-ahead, the authorization to use it, shouldn't we vote for what the policy is going to be first?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can do that for the next meeting, or if you guys have some ideas right now that we could add to it, and then we could vote the next meeting
Yeah,
for
like I
both
said,
the policy and the
in
authorization.
all honesty, I didn't
Okay.
update myself today, I mean, so, but,
Like I said, this policy is given to us by our auditors. You're not
Yeah.
gonna get any better than that.
So I guess, if I may,
So it's not, so this isn't gonna change? Yeah,
No.
No, okay.
Oh,
is there anything in here that I guess states how many we have? That, I guess that's what I'm getting to. I would like to see some control.
Well, I think I mean, you go to internal control procedures, so we got the town accountant is gonna be responsible, for overseeing compliance. One of the questions I had, Mike, so everything's gonna be paid, in full every month, okay? So, is there anything in here, Mike, that I missed that says how quickly, someone, say chief goes to buy something, has a receipt, we don't want those receipts sitting in his desk drawer, right? So is there anything in here that says he has to submit it at a certain time? Or by a certain time?
I believe there's a 25-day turnaround requirement, and the departments will be held to that.
Okay. So 25 days, so the department head would have to submit all expenses within that 25-day period to then, for us to process it and then get it paid. Okay.
Right.
All right.
We'll probably get a bill, would we get like a
Yeah,
credit card bill?
we get it on we'll get a statement, and then
So I guess that's,
but they have to provide receipts.
No, that's what I'm saying, no
Yeah.
doubt.
yeah, so the statement will come right here. We won't be relying on other boards.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's
'Cause
how we have.
That's the only way we could meet the 25-day
Yes, yeah.
turnaround.
And these cards are gonna be set up, so the town is responsible for the limit, but the cards are gonna be issued in individual names?
Yes.
Okay, and those-
4 different
Departments.
heads
Yep, in their name. So
in their name.
is there any, not that I'm concerned, but we're talking about, this, so I wanna throw it out there. So I know they're gonna be governed by, the laws, and by this policy and everything else. Talk to me in terms of any consequence if, say they get a little out of hand with a credit card, they start using it for personal, which, by the way, specifically says you can't do here. But if we find that they're using it for personal use or anything like that, what are the consequences, to those actions?
They'll be disciplined and they could lose their position, up to including termination.
Okay.
It's a very serious,
And will they then be responsible for also paying it? So I guess, are they personally responsible also for this, or is it really fall back on the town?
it would fall back
On the town, okay. I just wanna make sure I understood that. Okay.
Just one other question.
Yes, sir.
So this is an option, right? This isn't a requirement that you have to use the P card for every transaction that
No,
that we
because
make,
not
right? So
every vendor will
if we have
accept it.
right, if we have a vendor that we have some pretty good payment terms for, we can certainly keep that in place.
Sure.
All right, yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's just another tool
Yeah.
to save money.
If I may, being in the industry that I'm in, I have a lot of knowledge about this. So there are also a couple of other advantages to this, and that is, say reporting. Okay, you have individual, months, where all right, so and so is buying this, but I mean, with credit cards, you can get monthly reporting, but also end of year reporting, so you can kind of see,
I get one.
where
It's great.
where you're spending your money, okay, how much, each department is spending. So it adds to some information that you can utilize at the end of the year for, any kind of budgets, things like that. If one department's, purchasing more, you can actually, hey, what's going on? Your department's spending 50% more, than any other department. What's going on with that? So it adds a lot of, reporting, that we might not already have, okay? Secondly, and I don't know if this is as much of an advantage, I know for individual businesses it is, but when you have a credit card, you have a 30-day purchase cycle, okay? Where, if you're purchasing within those 30 days, you're getting charged nothing for those purchases, right? So you're using the card, the town hasn't come out of pocket for anything, okay? So, it's almost like a line of credit, but yet you're not paying anything on it in that 30 days. And then you get your statement, and then the statement allows usually another 20 days, okay, for payment. So basically, it's a way also for the town to utilize credit, okay, for 50 days at 0%, okay, and then you're paying the balance in full at the end of that 50 days as well. So it helps from a cash flow standpoint, as well, that may or may not be an advantage for the town. But with credit cards, if you utilize them correctly, it adds that component as well. And I think the end of the year, rewards points, whatever we utilize with cash back or whatever can also be another great advantage. And I also feel that to have our individual department heads using their own cards, for purchasing, it just can't happen. It just really can't happen. All right, that's not fair. That's not what they, it's not part of their job description or anything like that. So I think we have to kind of come up to the times and get this in place. So anyway, 2 cents. So
Two other benefits, we don't pay interest and we don't pay taxes,
yes,
no sales tax.
yep, which is outlined in G. If you guys want to take a look at that. Yes, sir.
With the school committee, why the Bank of Montreal? Is that just the best money back?
Actually, it's, the Bank of Montreal is the parent company, but I don't know if you held
Yeah,
on to that.
I did. It's right here. So
It's a U.S. subsidiary from Chicago that
take a look at that
actually,
here.
Okay, that may mean nothing to me, I'm just.
no,
No, it's a good
actually,
question,
no, it is
yeah.
actually because I had the same question.
Yeah, I mean, it,
Because my
He
if I may, if with Bank of Montreal, my concern was any kind of, currency exchange,
Yes.
that we might have to incur. But what Mike found out through his research was that it is what, in Chicago?
yeah,
Is that
Okay.
Okay, so we're not going to be
Harris Bank
Okay.
in Chicago.
okay.
And also, Mike, this is a company that specializes and
Right,
it's got a program.
there aren't a lot of banks that
Sounds good.
do this.
And did they do what you mentioned? Was it 3% back? Not
This was a
positive.
different bank that we
Okay.
first were looking at. It was actually through New York.
Okay.
But Suzanne, like I said, has experience. This is through the Mass School Business Administrators Association. And they go through the state of Illinois, which is the charter of Harris Bank.
Okay. All right, so, Mike, what are we voting on then? I mean, am I gonna have to sign this thing for the school committee? Are we voting on this
Yes.
separately
Well,
than the policy, or?
adopt the credit card use
Policy.
policy
Okay,
and, first, and as well as approving the town to join the P-card program, and then vote separately on a resolution for the school.
can we limit, on the school side, can we limit that to one, maybe two cards? Because I gotta say, I'm in agreement with the board about my concern over how many cards we're gonna issue here. I mean, we have a couple of schools, we have a school committee, I understand, but I don't want, a ton of cards going around. I know it all comes to the same place, it's expensed the same way, but, I think only certain individuals should have access to these cards.
Well, I did not discuss that with Suzanne. How can I say this? I think I don't think we're in a position to know who should have a card and who shouldn't over there.
At the school?
Yeah.
Does the board agree with that?
I don't see any reason why we can't give them X amount of cards.
Yeah, you don't have to specify just X.
Not X,
It's-
like if we could say 4, 5, however many.
If I
I think you
may,
gotta put
You
some
mentioned-
controls
you mentioned-
around it. You can't just have a free-for-all
The
and.
business manager and the principals.
Yeah, I'm very confident, where Chief Cudmore, Chief Mitchell, and Peter Durkee, they have cards. I'm confident they'll, certainly, take control of those cards. But we have a lot more people here, that we're looking at. So I would certainly agree with the board, and I'm a little uncomfortable signing something that doesn't really outline how many cards they're asking for, and as Selectman Sadler said, I think we need some controls over that before, because it's still town business. I mean, it's still the town on the hook for it, and we want to make sure that we understand who has them, and maybe
Well,
some processes around it.
If I can add, they have a stricter purchasing program than the town does, because they have to get purchase orders approved by the finance department of the school before they can make purchases. We don't.
So there's a procurement
So that's
officer
right,
then for
yeah.
the schools?
They have they have a school accountant and a school finance director.
Yeah. Then I would say if both the town and the school have to follow procurement laws and how they get supplies or what have you, we'll just put that into the policy that it'll be controlled by the procurement officer. Or cards will be distributed to the procurement officer and the school and the town.
I don't
Just
know, if I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this would perhaps handle it, but there is sort of a blank spot on the back of this credit card policy, okay? And it's in the second paragraph up, where it has a percent not to exceed, and there's nothing filled in there. So would that sort of perhaps, is there a recommendation for that percent not to exceed?
total budget of
Is that the
town.
dollar amount?
Well,
Not the cards,
No.
right?
no,
All
am I reading, am I reading it?
No, yes, the
Should
credit
it-
limit of all credit cards.
So that would be, I think in there would perhaps be the $10,000 limit that Mike was talking about putting on there? Would that be in this, should that be sort of perhaps written in?
I suppose that's a way of controlling it as well,
Yeah,
right?
well,
If
see,
you,
that-
if you
yeah.
put a max limit on,
Well, Mike, is that I mean, we already talked about the fact that, you know, all of these, now that I think about it, all of this is gonna be, directed and followed by procurement laws. So are they gonna fall under that as well?
Yes.
Alright, you know, if they're gonna fall under that, I mean, I guess from that standpoint, there's your, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's your control,
yeah, true.
right?
I mean, to
mean,
tell you
these
the
are
truth,
dollar amount.
earlier I was gonna say, I mean, I think I did say it earlier, I mean, just like I said earlier tonight, we're gonna put faith in our boards and committees to help move the Mellow project
Yep.
forward. I gotta put faith in our school committee and our school, you know, operators over there that they're
Yeah,
gonna do things right.
Yeah, and I think, Mike, if, you know, as we look at this, you know, maybe we just have, you know, a firm discussion about, who keeps track, Mike, of who will have cards?
That's perhaps, yeah.
Well, the town accountant on the town side and the school accountant on the school side.
Okay. Now, do any of those people have, who has the authority to take cards away if they feel like they are not being utilized the correct way?
Me,
You?
as the
Okay.
finance director.
Okay. All right. So there will be plenty of eyeballs on this, sounds
Yeah.
like.
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right.
What can always be modified, right?
Yeah,
we could always
Yeah,
modify the policy.
if things,
Well, just for the sake of giggles here, if it got out of control, you can always modify the policy.
yeah, well, the internal policy, we can change the amounts, the limits on each individual card too.
Okay.
I mean, we could make it lower. I wouldn't wanna make it higher because then you're gonna be possible running afoul of procurement laws.
Oh, you did mention perhaps if giving the school board a super card, so I took it by that you perhaps meant a higher limit,
Yeah,
which they would follow in their policy, but
Right.
that's why I'm just concerned because it, you know, we're accepting this credit card policy and you have mentioned a $10,000 procurement, but it's not in here, but what I'm hearing earlier on this side is that law is what keeps it there anyway.
it supersedes
Yep.
this
Okay.
policy.
Okay, and so, and I don't know if you got to see this, in your opinion, we don't need to put in this percentage?
I wouldn't know what percentage, you know, I could ask the auditors.
Well,
what-
perhaps we can just,
I mean,
yeah,
this was done by the audit.
perhaps,
auditors.
perhaps that's a good question, I mean, we can pass it, but perhaps that's a good question to send to the auditors and have some follow-up on,
If they have a rule of thumb
yeah.
that they would like to see, that's.
That might
certainly
limit
what
the
we
amount of
want to
cards
follow.
right there,
Yeah,
so perhaps, is it okay if we ask Mike to follow up on that?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that the auditors probably put that in there, because, I don't know, maybe they're thinking that we're gonna put our own limit there?
Well, maybe,
You
at
know,
least, maybe,
but,
at least perhaps they can advise us, yeah.
Yeah, well, Mike, if, yeah, as Gary said, I mean, we can certainly vote this tonight. But if you could ask that question and then report back to us so that we know what is gonna be going in there, I think that'll put our minds at ease.
Would mind.
Yeah.
sure.
So, okay. All right, any further discussion? So we can move this along.
So, what are we doing with this? Are we tabling this until the next meeting,
No,
or
I
are
don't
we
think
so. No,
going
I-
to adopt a use policy and then join the P-card program.
Yeah, I think I'd like to vote it tonight. I think, we've put it on the shelf since 2013. I think, now's as good a time as any.
I'll make a rough stab at it, Mr. Chair. I move to, approve attachment A, Town of Georgetown Credit Card Holder Agreement.
As presented, yeah.
That's,
As presented.
Second.
that's
Is it-
part of the credit card use policy.
Policy, yeah.
That's attachment A to the.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Okay, see, I took a rough stab at it. Maybe someone else can have a better
Oh,
one.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, as presented in what is it, the credit card
Credit
use
card
policy?
use
Policy.
Okay, as presented tonight.
That okay,
How's
Mike?
that sound?
Yeah.
All right, may I have a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Now,
nays?
do we need that thing for the school committee
Okay.
separate?
Yeah,
Well,
that's gonna be separate.
And then the.
So that passes unanimously? Yeah.
That's the policy. Now, approve that the town, is authorized to utilize, procurement cards. That's,
This is the school part of it?
no, this
Yeah.
is, municipal procurement
Oh, okay.
card, purchase from the DOR.
Okay.
Should be it.
There's the first two pages of
Oh, okay. Gary, you wanna take a stab at this one as well, or?
No, because I'm not finding it, Mr. Chair. Okay, there.
Well, let me try. Mr. Chair, I would move that we adopt the municipal procurement or purchase cards program as presented by DOR.
Under, yeah.
Second.
That's okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, passes unanimously.
And now the school resolution.
Okay? All right, can I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to, move forward for acceptance of resolution authorizing issuance of individual procurement cards, that refers to the school committee. I don't think I need to read this whole thing, but perhaps we will just change the date to say this,
Right.
date of July 10th, 2017.
Okay,
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Question, do we need to approve these internal control procedures, or is that just information? Or is that part of,
That was
or is that part of?
part of the policy.
Part of the policy?
Yeah.
Okay,
Staple.
I just got out of order.
You go, Mike.
There we go.
So, Mike, what is the process now that this has, been passed? About getting
Well, we have to
cards
send
and-
all our financial information to the
Yep.
bank and
Yep.
get the, I don't know how
You don't know how long that is?
long that will take, but it shouldn't be that long.
Okay. In the meantime, will you let our department heads know that this is in process and, hopefully, we can get them what they need, for moving
Oh, yeah.
forward? Okay? All right, I thank the board for that. Are we going to do anything with this Essex Greenbelt request, being that nobody's here?
They don't-
I know we
they
were
don't
talking
always come. The police chief did reach out to them this morning, and, but he was okay with the route. He says it's the same route that they used last time. They have no problem.
They had no problem with it?
No,
Okay, so as long as chief has talked to him.
yes.
Okay, any questions for the from the board? We have their insurance here, it looks like. Okay,
They're a good group, that's for sure.
yeah, we've never had any issue, right? Okay, all right, their motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the, Essex Greenbelt, Essex County Greenbelt, road cycling event on Saturday, September 16th, 2017.
Ticket.
Okay.
From 9 a.m., looks like till it ends. I don't know when it ends. Is there a stop time? No? Okay. To begin at 9 a.m.
It's beginning at 9 a.m. Okay.
I'll second it, but,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
yeah, 'cause this thing here says September 17th, he said 16th, so.
Oh, that was on the front page.
So that's why I didn't.
16th. Where are you,
Yes, you're
Jerry, on
absolutely
this
right.
that I didn't catch that?
On the map.
Oh.
I mean, the event on the
Maybe it runs
agenda
3
also
days.
says
Yeah.
the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Here it says 16th, the map says 17th.
Which is,
Which day is Saturday?
Well, yeah,
Who's got
which
the
day's
calendar?
Saturday?
How quick can you get a calendar in there, my friend?
Well, that's if it's on, is it say Saturday? Yeah, okay, it says
16th
Saturday.
is Saturday.
All right, so Saturday the
'Cause I
16th.
take it that the motion must be
Oh,
correct.
it's the 16th Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay, so it's the 16th, it was just a typo on the map.
Okay, and, you know,
Could
we
be.
can certainly decision this as of the
Cost of
16th,
type.
correct? And if it's different, we'll have to come back and we'll have to, you know, revote it. You know, that's, basically what
I
it comes
did
down to.
in last year's.
That's why I'm wondering if this is last year's map.
Okay, so, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
I
Yeah.
don't know. She-
Someone second it? I just
Yeah.
didn't catch it. Steve?
Steve said.
Gary
No,
seconded.
Garen
I
seconded.
did.
I know there was a
okay.
second on the
Yes, I
side.
did, that's right, I remember
Thank
now.
you.
Yep,
Sorry.
all right. So again, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm gonna abstain.
You abstain? Okay.
Yeah.
So we got 3 yeses and 1 abstention. Okay. All right. Let's see, moving forward, Mike, why don't you start with, the administrator's report on 45 Central Street?
Yeah, I, received a quote and I'll be going forward with it for the, mitigation of the, asbestos. It's, just a little over $5,000.
Okay.
And we have approximately $9,000 left in the,
Nice.
warrant article. It won't leave us with any money for demo in the near future, so we'd have to do that in the fall.
Okay. And what's the time frame on that, Mike, you said?
As soon as they can
As soon as they
get
can.
there.
Okay. All right. Questions?
Did we get quotes for the cost for
Under,
demo?
under that amount, I didn't get a quote, I.
No, I mean for, to.
To demo it.
Oh, for the demo? No, I haven't, cause, no, I was taking one
Okay.
step at a time.
But you think that $9,000 is probably not gonna cut it for?
Well, we
Well,
only
if I,
got
if I'm gonna
4,000.
use,
Oh,
yeah,
well,
we're only
four,
about
oh,
4
okay.
left. I,
Oh, okay.
I'm guesstimating it's gonna be about 10 grand to take it down, but that's just a guesstimate.
Maybe we should get Peter to give us a quote.
Training.
I
Training.
Well, I don't know, I
would be
mean, I hate to go back to
very,
the town asking for more. I mean,
concerned
that's what we're
about
gonna have to
that.
do, right? We're gonna have to ask for more
Hey.
money.
at town meeting, yeah, for demo.
Well, if we have, 4 left, it won't be, a ton of money,
Yeah,
that we'll have to ask for, so. I think if we're asking for a ton of money, that'd be something different, so. All right, any other questions?
When will the mitigation start?
as soon as possible.
Okay, I didn't know if they gave you a date.
They didn't.
Like, and we get a report and everything,
Already
that
got the
everything is-
report.
You already got the report, and then when they're finished,
Yeah, then.
we have a
then
certificate or something
we'll get a
showing that we got it to
certificate that
mitigate, okay.
It's been mitigated, so,
Okay.
because we can't get a demo permit without that,
Mhm.
certificate that the asbestos has been removed.
Okay, and this company's just gonna provide their insurance, correct?
Yeah, they're fully insured, they do it for,
Who's doing
it's a
the
very
mitigation?
segmented, industry, to Service Pro, actually. Actually, I called Service Pro and they said they sub it out, all their testing,
Yeah.
they don't even do it themselves, so they gave me a reference for a business in Haverhill.
All right, so we're gonna have to protect ourselves. I mean, anytime you're working with
Yeah.
asbestos and you know these kind of chemicals, you know we don't want anything coming back on us. So let's make sure we have you know.
Yeah,
the
they're
adequate
fully
insurance.
licensed, and, you know, they'll set up all the necessary, you know,
Do you have the name of
Guards.
the company off the top of your head?
Senco,
Senco? C-E-N-S-E-N.
SEN.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? All right, great. Moving on. So let's go to appointments and approvals first. We have let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Anybody want to take a crack at these? Anybody?
Hold on. Okay, I move to appoint Richard Mullen to the Conservation Commission. Term to expire June 30, 2019.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Move to reappoint David J. Twist as an associate member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire June 30, 2018.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
I move to renew Georgetown Auto Repair and Sales, Class 2. What are we
I was
renewing,
gonna say, do we
just a
have-
license to do business?
Yes, it's the
So
class
I-
2 auto sales license.
Do we have to have a date in there?
It expired December 31st,
This year?
2017, yeah.
Okay, let me do that again. 12/31, 22. I move to renew the Class 2 license for Georgetown Auto Repair and Sales, term to expire December 31st, 2017.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
So that's done.
All right.
Surplus property.
Yep. So we got surplus property from the library. Mike, what are we doing on this?
They're, I don't know. That came in while I was out.
It looks like they have a,
They want to declare surplus property.
yeah, portable, a Rover portable AV system cart with an XGA projector. It's inoperable. They want to surplus an Epson TM T88V printer. It's broken. A Xerox scanner portable. It's working. It says it's worth $300.
That's the original value.
I'm sorry. No, the original value is $300. Yeah, thank you. A compact Presario PC, broken. An Acer LCD monitor, which is also broken, and a Dell keyboard, which is broken.
What's going on with the library?
No known value.
Do we need to vote
Well,
on it?
for electronics, they.
And we just have to authorize them to expense it, to surplus it.
Okay.
Second.
So there's your motion in a second. So any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
And you gotta sign it.
Yep.
These all have to be signed if they want to start.
All right. So to the selectmen's report. So last meeting we had discussed what needs to be done and I had asked the board to provide me with their feedback, by Wednesday, which I still have not received
I'd be
everybody's.
the first to apologize, Mr. Chair.
That's cool. But what I also mentioned was that we now need to, and I think more importantly, it has to get done so that we can have this workshop, right? Because then what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring everyone's together, right? And we're gonna go through each and every single one, all right? Because not, the beginning was to do this, but, I'm sure there are other ideas out there, and we want to provide Mr. Trapani with as much, relevant information to each point and bullet point as possible. So I'm looking to get all of these together before this workshop. We'll put them together, we'll make copies for everybody, so that we can then go through them, get some other ideas, and then provide a master, copy to Mr. Trapani so that he can kind of move forward. The question for the board is, when do we want to have this workshop? Does anybody have any ideas?
I don't think I've got any dates that I'm out of town, so that's kind of why I was off on business, so I did look it over, and I have made notes, I haven't completely ignored it, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that, I want them just to compile them now, but again, if it's a week prior, I'll need some time to get everything, and then work with Janet to get everything together, so don't worry about it. But we need to come up with a date. So today's the 10th.
6, 7,
Does anybody have, say, something, next week that, when is David back? Because we need David here for this as well.
I don't know.
You don't know either?
He'll be back for the August meeting, but I don't know when he's coming back from.
Do you
Yeah.
wanna go out 2 weeks and then change it if you can't make it?
Yeah, it's a good idea. Why don't we do that? And so, no. Why don't we say, so 2 weeks from today's the 24th? Is that correct? Yes, yep. Okay, and, we'll have it, downstairs? When what room can we use, Mike?
Any room, but it has to be an open meeting.
Yeah.
It has to be posted.
Oh, it does have to be posted?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was just something we could just have a discussion with as far as a workshop. Okay, so, do we wanna do the 24th? So, let me ask another question. So, why don't, is it something that we can just actually open anything else to an agenda? Is that what you're saying? So it's just
the
gonna
only
be that
item,
discussion?
it's a workshop for
Okay, so why don't we,
the
okay,
I don't,
goals and objectives, for goals.
yeah, if I may, so we won't really be able to vote out any of these if we don't want to, or would we? 'Cause I
Yeah, it's
thought-
posted meeting, so
Okay.
discussion and vote on,
Okay.
goals.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so why don't we do that, Mike? Why don't we do that for the 24th? Per Selectman follow a suggestion if David is not back, because I would like, obviously, to have him present. He also has his own
Yeah, I agree.
bullet points that, he has to provide as well. So, and if we find that he won't be back, we'll have to adjust that accordingly, and maybe we do it the following week or whatever. So, why don't we do that? So next workshop is, that workshop will be on the 24th, 7 o'clock, still okay, or should we make it earlier in case we need a little bit more time, or can everyone make it an earlier meeting?
I can.
Six
Yeah.
o'clock would probably work,
Right, just so we don't
Okay.
get, too late or whatever, is that okay?
yeah. Have Mike go use the P card to order some pizzas.
Very good. It's official town business.
Online, you gotta find
I don't want that.
I'll order online at Papa Dory's, they'll deliver.
So, why don't we say 6 o'clock, is that okay?
That's fine.
Alright, so 6 o'clock on the 24th, does that work? Okay, so that will be our workshop. Right now, our next meeting is for Monday, August 21st, at 7 o'clock. We will have to have some discussion regarding our visitors today, regarding the marijuana growing facility. So if we do need a meeting before then to discuss that, if it gets to that point, then you know, we'll put something on the agenda before that 21st, and we'll come together for that. And if we're gonna do that, you know, maybe if there's anything else we have to discuss, we'll certainly do that.
We could perhaps even, adjust that agenda
Yeah,
and
probably
perhaps
should be.
even have something that night, if, you know, say that we're recessing and then go into an open meeting, we still don't have to have it cameras rolling for everyone, do we?
It's still an open meeting, even though you have no workshop.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could put that on the agenda, or
Mhm.
workshop.
meeting, but it's a workshop.
If
But
it
then-
need be, that's all I'm saying,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. So July 24th, 6 o'clock. Okay. All right, did I get through everything? Right, that's everything? All right.
Chairman, I do have one thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that, one other thing I wanna mention as well, but Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, just this afternoon, the conference committee of the House and Senate reported out a final budget. And as, they did not make any changes to chapter 70, and they did not make any changes to unrestricted general government aid. So the only things that changed were some minor changes that we're getting $837 in revenue, less revenue, and our charges are $76 less, so, the net change is $761 less than we
Less.
anticipated.
Minus 761. But we're still getting the $30 a student for chapter 70.
That's, how they figured that out, I have no idea.
I
If
don't know,
we're
that's the
getting,
number that they
we're
use.
getting the same amount, that both the House and Senate, they concurred on that. It's a little bit more than the governor's original proposal by about substantially more. Well, it's not substantially, it's $14,000 more than the governor actually, proposed,
In chapter 70 money.
yes. And identical to the unrestricted
Okay.
is unchanged throughout the whole process.
Yeah, 'cause I think they went up, I don't know, was it the per pupil amount less last year, like $25 per pupil?
Yeah, but then there's
But,
all
well, they have
sorts
some
of
other, they have,
formulas.
they have, well, they have these convoluted formulas for everything, but.
Right.
But I think there was an increase in the per student amount.
I think you're right, it went to $30 per student, but, we come out on the short end of these formulas because they take into consideration poverty levels and things like that.
Okay. All right, Mike, is that?
That's it,
Okay.
I promise.
For the board, a couple of things. So number one, as we say, we're meeting on the 24th, by the way. That means latest, I would like everyone's feedback on your bullet points is on the try 21st or 22nd, just so that, again, we have enough time to wrap it all up, get a copy so that we can meet on the 24th, okay?
All right, will Phil be attending that meeting with us?
No, I don't think
Alright.
Phil has to be there for that one. Okay. Secondly, so for the board, it was sent out today that Noonan's 100-year anniversary celebration will be on July 22nd, and they have invited members of the board to attend that event. They would like to know ahead of time who will be attending. Okay. As everyone knows, Noonan's is a great business in town, and obviously been here for a long time. So would love to make sure we're present, at the event if we can. I know summer's a tough time, so but again, they do want to know ahead of time for our general public out there. The appreciation event is on the 22nd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There'll be different, festivities, events for the kids. There'll also be a customer appreciation sale for merchandise at the location. Okay, so let Janet know if you could, if you can attend, so we can pass that along as well. Okay. I'd also like to take a minute. It's been about a year since the Carter family in town lost their son. If you remember, last year in July, there was that tragic accident where they lost their son. So we'd like to send our thoughts and prayers to that family, and hopefully, they're doing okay. It's a very hard time for them. And again, you're in our thoughts and prayers as a town as well. So, okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd also like to extend our sympathies and condolences to Pastor Jim McLaughlin on the passing of his wife.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So, does anybody have anything else? No. All right. So, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
I
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.